The small space station hung at the edge of known space like a forgotten toy. It was called Outpost 47, but most people just called it the last stop. No one came here unless they had nowhere else to go. The mining moon below had run dry years ago. Now the station was mostly empty corridors, flickering lights, and the quiet hum of old machines trying to stay alive. In the lowest level, near the docking bays, there was a bar called Last Stop. It had no fancy sign, just a metal door with the name scratched into it. Inside, the place smelled of old coffee, cheap beer, and the faint metal taste of recycled air. A few tables sat under dim yellow lights. A long counter ran along one wall, with stools that wobbled if you moved too fast. Ji-hoon stood behind the counter, wiping glasses that were already clean. He was 32, with short black hair and tired eyes that smiled more than his mouth did. He wore a plain gray shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and an old apron tied around his waist. He had come to Outpost 47 5 years earlier, after Earth became too loud and too crowded for him. Here, at least, he could hear himself think. Business was slow tonight, like most nights. Two human miners sat at a corner table, talking in low voices about old jobs. A blue-skinned trader from the outer rings nursed a green drink and stared at nothing. That was it. Ji-hoon did not mind the quiet. Quiet meant no trouble. He was thinking about closing early when the door hissed open. A cold wind from the corridor came in first. Then the figure stepped through. He was huge. Even with a heavy black cloak pulled tight around him, his shoulders looked wide enough to block the doorway. The hood covered his face in deep shadow, but Ji-hoon caught a quick flash of something. Scales? Eyes that glowed like dying coals? The stranger moved slowly, like every step cost him effort. He walked past the other customers without looking at them, and sat on the stool farthest from the light. Ji-hoon watched him for a moment. He had seen many strange beings in 5 years. Some were dangerous. Some were just lost. This one looked like both. Ji-hoon picked up a clean glass. He reached under the counter for the bottle he kept for special nights. The real Earth whiskey, aged 12 years, smuggled in by a friend who owed him a favor. It cost more than most people here earned in a month. He poured a slow, careful measure. The amber liquid caught the light and looked almost warm. He walked down the counter and set the glass in front of the stranger. "Here," Ji-hoon said simply. "Looks like you need this more than anyone tonight. On the house." The hooded figure did not move at first. For a long second, Ji-hoon thought he had made a mistake. Maybe this customer did not drink. Maybe he did not speak the common tongue. Maybe he was dangerous. Then a large, gloved hand reached out. The glove was black leather, cracked and old. The fingers were long, too long for a human. They closed around the glass with surprising care. The stranger lifted the glass under the hood. Ji-hoon heard a soft inhale, then the sound of a slow sip. The figure stayed still for another moment, as if tasting something he had forgotten existed. When he spoke, the voice was deep and rough, like stones rolling down a mountain. "Thank you." 2 words, that was all, but they carried weight. Ji-hoon nodded once, and went back to wiping glasses. He did not ask questions. People came to Last Stop to be left alone. If they wanted to talk, they would. The stranger drank slowly. He did not gulp. He did not rush. Each sip seemed important. After the glass was half empty, he set it down with care. Ji-hoon noticed the other customers glancing over. The blue trader's antenna twitched. Everyone felt it. The air had changed. Something big was sitting in their little bar, and no one knew what it was. Ji-hoon ignored them. He poured himself a small drink from the same bottle, something he almost never did, and leaned on the counter. "Long trip?" he asked, voice calm. The stranger turned his head slightly. Under the hood, the glowing eyes met Ji-hoon's for the first time. They were not angry. They were surprised. Longer than you can imagine, the stranger said. Ji-hoon gave a small smile. Try me. The stranger stayed quiet for a while. Then he spoke again, softer. I have traveled far. Seen many places, many people. No one has ever given me anything without wanting something back. Ji-hoon shrugged. I'm not most people, and it's just a drink. Won't even miss it. His gloved finger traced the rim slowly. In my home, he said, such a thing would be impossible. A gift with no price, a kindness with no chain. Ji-hoon chuckled quietly. Then your home sounds like a sad place. The stranger made a sound that might have been a laugh, or might have been pain. It was hard to tell. Maybe it is, he said. They did not speak for a while after that. The miners finished their drinks and left. The blue trader paid and slipped out. Soon the bar was empty, except for Ji-hoon and the stranger. Ji-hoon started closing up. He turned off the extra lights, leaving only the warm glow above the counter. He wiped down the tables, stacked the chairs, checked the cooler. The stranger watched him the whole time. When Ji-hoon came back behind the counter, the stranger spoke again. My name here, you can call me Yong-jin. Ji-hoon nodded. Ji-hoon, nice to meet you, Yong-jin. You do not ask why I hide my face, why I sit in shadows. Ji-hoon poured himself another small drink. Figured if you wanted me to know, you'd tell me. Yong-jin was quiet again. Then he reached up and pushed back the hood just enough for Ji-hoon to see more clearly. His face was not human. Scales covered his skin in patterns of deep green and black, like armor made of stone and night. Horns curved back from his forehead, short but sharp. His eyes burned like slow fire. Teeth showed when he spoke, long, white, and very sharp. Ji-hoon did not flinch. He had seen worse in the outer rings. He had served drinks to things with too many eyes, too many arms, things that smelled like death. This was just another customer. Yong-jin watched him closely, waiting for fear. Ji-hoon met his gaze and raised his glass a little. To long trips and quiet bars. Yong-jin stared. Then, slowly, he lifted his own glass. To kindness, he said, with no price. They drank together in silence. After that, Yong-jin finished his whiskey. He stood up. He was even taller than Ji-hoon thought, almost touching the low ceiling. I will come again, he said. Ji-hoon nodded. Doors always open. Well, when it's not locked. Yong-jin pulled the hood back over his face. He moved toward the door, then stopped. Thank you, Ji-hoon. Ji-hoon waved a hand. Don't mention it. Just don't break my stools if you come back angry. Yong-jin made that same sound, half laugh, half something deeper. Then he was gone. Ji-hoon stood alone in the quiet bar. He looked at the empty glass on the far stool. He smiled a little to himself. Strange night, he muttered. He locked up, turned off the last light, and walked back to his small room behind the kitchen. Outside, in the dark corridors of Outpost 47, the huge figure moved like a shadow. No one saw him. No one dared look too long. But inside his mind, something new burned. A small human had given him a drink. No fear, no demands, just a drink. For the first time in hundreds of years, Ryujin, the Dragon Emperor of the Draconic Ascendancy, felt something close to peace. He would come back tomorrow, and the day after. Because in this small, forgotten bar at the edge of everything, someone had treated him like a person. Not a god, not a monster, just a person. And that changed everything. The next night came faster than Ji-hoon expected. The station lights dimmed on their usual cycle, turning the corridors a soft orange. Last stop opened at the same time as always. Ji-hoon unlocked the metal door, flipped on the lights, and started his routine, cleaning the counter, checking the stock, putting out fresh peanuts in small bowls. He did not expect anyone so early. Most customers waited until the late hours, when the day shifts ended, and people needed to forget their problems. But the door hissed open only 30 minutes after he opened. It was Yang Jin. He wore the same heavy black cloak, hood up, moving with that same careful slowness. He walked straight to the same dark corner stool and sat down without a word. Ji-hoon looked over and gave a small nod. "Back already?" Ji-hoon said. "Good to see you." Yang Jin pulled the hood back just enough to show his scaled face and glowing eyes. He looked less tense than last night. "Maybe a little curious." "I said I would come," he answered in his deep, rough voice. Ji-hoon smiled and reached for the whiskey bottle, the good one. He poured the same careful measure and slid the glass across. "Same as last night?" Yang Jin took the glass. This time, he did not hesitate. He sipped, closed his eyes for a second, and let out a slow breath. "It tastes better tonight," he said. Ji-hoon leaned on the counter. "That's because you're not drinking alone anymore." Yang Jin looked at him strangely. "You speak like you know me." "I know lonely when I see it," Ji-hoon said simply. "Seen it in my mirror plenty of times." No one else came in for a while. The bar stayed quiet, except for the low hum of the station and the soft clink of glasses. Ji-hoon worked, wiping, stacking, checking the cooler. Yang Jin drank slowly, watching everything Ji-hoon did like it was the most interesting thing in the galaxy. After the glass was half gone, Yang Jin spoke again. "Tell me about this place. Why do you stay here?" Ji-hoon stopped wiping and thought for a moment. Earth got too full, too noisy, everyone rushing, everyone angry. I wanted quiet. Found this station by accident. Bought the bar cheap because no one else wanted it. Now it's mine, small, but it's enough. Yang Jin tilted his head. "You do not want more?" "More what?" Ji-hoon asked. "Money? Power? Bigger bar?" "Anything," Yang Jin said. "Most beings always want more." Ji-hoon shrugged. "I want enough. Enough food, enough sleep, enough customers who don't start fights. That's plenty." Yang Jin stared at him for a long time. "You are strange," he said finally. Ji-hoon laughed quietly. "You're not the first to say that." The door opened again. Min Seo walked in. She was 29, with long dark hair tied back in a loose ponytail, and a quick smile that made people feel welcome. She wore a simple blue jacket over her work shirt, and carried a small bag of supplies. She helped Ji-hoon 3 or 4 nights a week, when the station got busy, or when he needed a break. "Hey boss," she called. Then she saw Yang Jin, and stopped. Her eyes went wide for a second, but she recovered fast. "New customer?" Ji-hoon nodded. Yang Jin, this is Min Seo. She keeps me from burning the place down." Min Seo gave a small wave. "Nice to meet you. Don't let Ji-hoon talk your ear off. He loves telling bad jokes." Yang Jin looked at her, then back at Ji-hoon. "She works with you?" "Sometimes," Ji-hoon said. "Best helper I've got." Min Seo walked behind the counter and started putting away the supplies. She glanced at Yang Jin again. Curious, but not scared. "You look like you've had a rough week," she said to him. "Want something stronger than whiskey?" Yang Jin shook his head. "This is enough." Min Seo smiled. "Suit yourself, but if you change your mind, we've got some spicy rice wine from the inner colonies. Burns going down, but wakes you up." Yang Jin made that low sound again, half laugh, half rumble. Ji-hoon poured himself a small drink and sat on a stool near Yang Jin. Min Seo busied herself cleaning tables, but she listened. "You said last night your home is sad," Ji-hoon said. "Want to talk about it?" Yang Jin looked down at his glass. His large fingers tapped the counter once, twice. "My home is big," he said slowly. "Very big. Many worlds, many people. I carry all of it." Ji-hoon waited. He did not push. "People expect things from me," Yang Jin continued. "Always. They bow, they beg. No one, ever, just sits with me." Ji-hoon nodded. "Sounds heavy." It is, Yongjin said. Heavier than stone. Heavier than stars. Minseo came over with a bowl of fresh peanuts and set it between them. Eat something, she said. Drinking on an empty stomach is no good. Yongjin looked at the peanuts like he had never seen them before. He picked one up carefully between his sharp claws and studied it. What is this? Peanuts, Ji-hoon said. Earth food, salty, crunchy, good with drinks. Yongjin put it in his mouth. He chewed slowly. His eyes widened a little. It is small, but good. Ji-hoon grinned. Told you. They sat like that for hours. Customers came and went. Miners, a quiet trader, two small aliens who argued in their own language. None of them stayed long. None of them bothered the corner where Yongjin sat. Ji-hoon told stories about the time he tried to fix the bar's old music player and it played nothing but alarm sounds for 3 days. About the night a drunk pilot bet he could jump over the counter and ended up stuck in the ceiling vent. Yongjin listened to every word. Sometimes he asked questions, sometimes he just nodded. Minseo joined in when she could. She teased Ji-hoon about his cooking. He makes terrible noodles, don't let him feed you. She told Yongjin about the time Ji-hoon stayed up all night repairing a broken heater for a family who could not pay. Yongjin spoke little about himself, but every now and then he said something strange. I once ruled a sky full of fire, he said once, staring at nothing. Another time, I have lived longer than most suns burn. Ji-hoon and Minseo did not laugh or call him crazy. They just listened. As the night grew late, the bar emptied again. Minseo yawned and grabbed her bag. See you tomorrow, Ji-hoon. Nice meeting you, Yongjin. Yongjin bowed his head a little. Thank you, Minseo. She smiled and left. Ji-hoon started closing up. Yongjin stayed on his stool. You do not have to stay, Ji-hoon said. I lock up soon. I want to stay, Yongjin said. A little longer. Ji-hoon did not argue. He turned off most of the lights, leaving only the warm one above the counter. He sat down again. Another drink? He asked. Yongjin nodded. Ji-hoon poured. They drank in quiet. After a while, Yongjin spoke. In my life, no one has ever treated me like this. Like what? Ji-hoon asked. Like I am normal. Ji-hoon looked at him. You are normal. Just bigger and scarier, but still normal. Yongjin's glowing eyes met Ji-hoon's. You do not know who I am. Don't need to, Ji-hoon said. You're a customer. You're tired. You're lonely. That's enough for me. Yongjin was silent for a long time. Then he said, very quietly, My true name is Ryujin. Ji-hoon repeated it slowly. Ryujin sounds strong. It is, Ryujin said. Too strong, sometimes. Ji-hoon finished his drink. Well, Ryujin, Yongjin, whatever you want to be called tonight. Doors open tomorrow too. Ryujin stood up. He towered over everything. I will come again, he said. Ji-hoon nodded. I'll save your stool. Ryujin walked to the door. Before he left, he turned back. Thank you, he said again, for everything. Ji-hoon waved. Just keep coming back. That's payment enough. The door closed behind him. Ji-hoon stood alone in the dim bar. He looked at the empty stool, the half-full glass, the bowl of peanuts, with one missing. He smiled to himself. Strange customer, he muttered. But deep down, he felt something warm. Like the bar had grown a little bigger tonight. Like the quiet station was not so empty anymore. Outside in the dark halls, Ryujin moved through shadows. His heart, ancient, heavy, guarded, felt lighter than it had in centuries. A human had listened to him. A human had fed him peanuts. A human had called him normal. He would come back tomorrow, and every night after, because in this small bar at the edge of everything, he had found something he thought lost forever. A friend. The nights passed quietly after that. Yongjin came every evening, always at the same time, always to the same dark corner stool. Ji-hoon saved the good whiskey bottle just for him. Min-so started calling him the big guy behind his back, but she always smiled when she served him extra peanuts or asked if he wanted ice. The bar felt different now, warmer, like it had grown an extra heartbeat. Customers still came and went, but they seemed to sense something too. They spoke softer near the corner. They left faster if Yongjin looked their way. No one caused trouble. Ji-hoon liked it. He liked having someone to talk to after closing. He liked the way Yongjin listened to his small stories like they mattered. He liked the low rumble of Yongjin's laugh when Min-so told a bad joke. That quiet never lasts forever on Outpost 47. It started with whispers in the docking bays. Rumors spread fast on a small station. Someone said a high-value target was hiding here. Someone else said the bounty was big enough to buy a whole planet. Then, the hunters arrived. They came in 3 ships, ugly patched-up vessels with too many guns. Insect-like mercenaries from the fringe worlds stepped out first. Tall, thin bodies covered in black shells, clicking mandibles, compound eyes that reflected every light. Behind them walked heavier types, scaled brutes with plasma rifles and chain blades. They moved through the corridors like they owned the place. Word reached the bar fast. Min-seo heard it first, from a scared trader who ran in for a quick drink. "They're looking for someone big," the trader whispered. "Something about an emperor, a dragon. They say he's worth more than the whole station." Min-seo looked over at Yongjin's empty stool. He had not arrived yet tonight. She walked to Ji-hoon, who was polishing glasses. "Trouble coming," she said quietly. "Bounty hunters. They're searching every level." "Anyone we know?" Min-so lowered her voice. "They're asking about a big guy. Hooded, scales. Sounds like our friend." Ji-hoon set the glass down slowly. He looked at the door. "He'll be here soon," he said. "We'll handle it." Min-so raised an eyebrow. "Handle it? With what? Your peanuts?" Ji-hoon gave a small smile. "If it comes to that." The door hissed open 20 minutes later. Yongjin stepped in. His cloak was tighter tonight, hood lower. He moved faster than usual, like he knew something was wrong. He sat down without a word. Ji-hoon poured the whiskey and slid it over. "Rough day?" he asked. Yongjin took the glass, but did not drink. "They are here," he said. "I can smell them." Ji-hoon nodded. Heard the same. Hunters, looking for someone important. Yongjin's glowing eyes met Ji-hoon's. "I should leave," he said, "before they find this place." Ji-hoon leaned on the counter. "You don't have to run," he said. "This is my bar, my rules. You paid for your drink, you stay if you want." Yongjin stared at him. "You do not understand what they will do." "I understand enough," Ji-hoon said. "They come in here, they cause trouble. I don't like trouble in my bar." Min-so walked over. She had a heavy metal tray in her hands like a shield. "We've dealt with drunks and smugglers before," she said. "We can handle a few bugs." Yongjin made a low sound, not quite a laugh. "You are both fools," he said. But there was something soft in his voice. The door burst open before anyone could answer. 4 hunters stepped in, 2 insectoids with rifles raised, 2 bigger ones with blades glowing blue. The lead insectoid clicked its mandibles and scanned the room. "Everyone stay still," it hissed. "We seek the fugitive, the dragon. Give him up, and no one dies." The few customers left froze. One miner dropped his glass. It shattered loud in the quiet. Ji-hoon stepped forward slowly, hands empty, no weapon. "He's a customer," Ji-hoon said calmly. "Paid his tab. That's all you need to know." The lead hunter turned its many eyes on him. "Human," it clicked. "Move or die." Ji-hoon did not move. "I said he's a customer. You want him, you go through me." Min-so stepped up beside him. She held the tray like a club. "And me," she added. The hunters laughed. A wet, ugly sound. One of the big ones raised its blade. "Brave little bugs," it growled. Yongjin stood up slowly. His cloak fell back. Scales caught the light. Horns showed clear. His eyes burned brighter. "Leave," he said. His voice filled the room like thunder in a small box. "Now." The hunters hesitated. They knew that voice. They knew the stories. But greed won. The insectoids fired first. Blue plasma bolts streaked across the bar. Ji-hoon moved without thinking. He grabbed a bottle and threw it hard. It hit one hunter in the face and exploded in glass and whiskey. Minseo swung the tray and cracked it against another's arm. The miner in the corner stood up and joined in, yelling and swinging a chair. Chaos erupted. Tables flipped, glasses broke, plasma burned holes in walls. Someone screamed. Yongjin roared. He did not change fully, not yet. But his body grew. Scales hardened like armor. Wings half unfolded under the cloak, ripping fabric. Fire flickered between his teeth. He grabbed one hunter by the throat and lifted it off the ground. The hunter fired point blank. The shot bounced off Scales like rain on stone. Ji-hoon ducked behind the counter. He pulled Minseo down with him. "Are you okay?" he asked. She nodded, breathing hard. "You? Still alive." They peeked up. Yongjin fought like a storm. He moved fast for something so big. One swipe sent a hunter crashing into the wall. Another blast of flame melted a rifle in half. But he held back. He did not want to destroy the bar. He did not want to hurt Ji-hoon or Minseo. The lead hunter saw it. "He's protecting them," it shouted. "Take the humans." Two hunters turned toward the counter. Ji-hoon stood up. No plan, just instinct. He grabbed the last full bottle of the good whiskey, the one he saved for Yongjin, and threw it with all his strength. It hit the lead hunter square in the chest. The bottle broke. Whiskey splashed everywhere. The hunter staggered. Minseo threw a metal stool. It hit another in the legs. The hunters laughed again. "Pathetic," one said. Then Yongjin lost control. His roar shook the walls. Fire exploded from his mouth. Not a small burst, but a wave. It swallowed the two hunters nearest the counter. They burned in seconds, screaming. The others turned to run. Yongjin stepped forward. His wings opened fully now. They touched both sides of the bar. His tail lashed once, cracking the floor. The last hunter raised its rifle. Ji-hoon shouted, "Stop!" Yongjin froze. His burning eyes looked at Ji-hoon. Ji-hoon walked out from behind the counter. Smoke rose around him. The bar was half ruined. Tables broken, walls scorched, lights flickering. But he walked straight to the last hunter. "Leave," Ji-hoon said, "now, or I let him finish." The hunter looked at Ji-hoon, then at the dragon towering behind him. It dropped the rifle. It backed toward the door. Then it ran. Silence fell. Only the crackle of small fires and the hum of damaged air vents. Yongjin shrank back slowly, wings folded, scales softened. He became Yongjin again. Still huge, still scaled, but not the monster. He looked at the destruction, at Ji-hoon, at Minseo, who stood with the broken tray still in her hands. Ji-hoon looked around his ruined bar. Then he looked at Yongjin. "Well," Ji-hoon said, "that was exciting." Minseo let out a shaky laugh. Yongjin stared at them both. "You fought for me," he said. "Why?" Ji-hoon shrugged. "You're my customer. No one messes with my customers." Minseo nodded. "Plus you tip well, in stories at least." Yongjin looked down. Something wet shone in his glowing eyes. "I could have ended them faster," he said, "but I did not want to hurt this place, or you." Ji-hoon walked over and put a hand on Yongjin's arm. The scales felt warm, like sun-heated stone. "Next time," Ji-hoon said, Maybe warn a guy before you go full dragon. Yongjin made that low rumble again. This time, it was almost a laugh. Min Seo looked at the mess. We're going to need a lot of cleaning, she said. Ji-hoon nodded. And a new bottle of whiskey. Yongjin bowed his head low. I will fix this, he said. All of it. Ji-hoon smiled. Just come back tomorrow, he said, and bring your appetite for peanuts. Outside, in the corridors, the surviving hunters fled to their ships. They would tell the story. A human bar owner stood against bounty hunters. A small human woman fought beside him. And the Dragon Emperor protected them like they were his own blood. Smoke still hung thick in the air of Last Stop. Small fires crackled in the corners where plasma had burned deep into the walls. Broken glass covered the floor like sharp snow. Chairs lay on their sides. The counter had a long black scar from a stray shot. One light flickered weakly overhead, throwing strange shadows. Ji-hoon stood in the middle of it all. His shirt was torn at the shoulder. A thin cut on his cheek bled slowly. He looked around at the mess that used to be his bar. Then he looked at the huge figure in front of him. Yongjin, no, Ryujin, had changed back. His wings were gone. His size had shrunk to something closer to normal, though he still towered over Ji-hoon and Minso. Scales covered his skin in deep green and black patterns. Horns curved back from his head. His eyes still glowed like slow coals, but the fire in them had cooled. He looked tired, not from the fight, from something much older. Minso sat on an unbroken stool. She held her arm close to her body. A bruise was already forming on her wrist from swinging the tray. She stared at Ryujin with wide eyes, but not with fear, more like wonder mixed with worry. No one spoke for a long minute. The only sound was the hiss of damaged vents and the soft pop of cooling metal. Ryujin took one step forward. The floor creaked under his weight. I am sorry, he said. His voice was quieter now, deep but gentle. For the danger I brought here. Ji-hoon wiped blood from his cheek with the back of his hand. He looked up at Ryujin. You didn't bring it, he said. They did, and we sent them running. That's what matters. Ryujin lowered his head. His horns caught the flickering light. You do not understand, he said. I am not just a traveler. I am not just Yongjin. Ji-hoon crossed his arms. Then tell me. Ryujin looked at Mincio, then back at Ji-hoon. He took a slow breath. My true name is Ryujin. I am the Emperor of the Draconic Ascendancy, ruler of more than 1,000 star systems. My line has held the throne for over 10,000 of your years. I command fleets that can burn worlds, armies that number in the billions. My word is law across half the known galaxy. He paused. His glowing eyes searched Ji-hoon's face for fear, for awe, for anything. He found none. Ji-hoon just nodded once. Okay, Ji-hoon said. Emperor, got it. Mincio let out a small, nervous laugh. You're kidding, right? Like an actual emperor? Ryujin shook his head slowly. I do not joke about this. Ji-hoon rubbed the back of his neck. So why hide in my bar? Why run from hunters? Ryujin looked away. His voice dropped lower. There was trouble at court, an attempt on my life, poison in my cup, blades in the dark. I trusted no one. I fled. I took this form. I came here to be alone, to think, to wait until the danger passed. He looked back at them. I never expected this. Ji-hoon glanced around the ruined bar again. Yeah, this wasn't exactly on my schedule either. Ryujin stepped closer. He moved carefully like he was afraid of breaking more things. You stood between me and death, he said. You, a human with no armor, no weapons, no power. You threw bottles. You shouted at hunters who could crush you like insects. Why? Ji-hoon shrugged. You were drinking my whiskey. You paid with stories. You didn't start the fight. That makes you my customer. I protect my customers. Min Seo nodded. Plus you're kind of growing on us, like a really big stray dog. Ryujin stared at them both. Something strange happened in his eyes. The glow softened. For a moment, they looked almost human. In all my years, he said quietly, no being has ever spoken to me like this. No one has stood for me without wanting favor. No one has laughed at my side without bowing first. Ji-hoon gave a small smile. First time for everything. Ryujin bowed. Not a small nod. A full, deep bow. His horns almost touched the floor. It was something no one in the galaxy had ever seen. The Dragon Emperor bowing to two small humans in a broken bar. When he rose again, his voice was firm. I owe you a debt, a life debt. Name your price. Wealth beyond dreams, a fleet to guard this station, a world of your own, power, immortality, anything. Ji-hoon looked at the mess around him. Broken tables, scorched walls, shattered bottles. He thought for a moment. Then he said, I want two things. Ryujin waited. First, Ji-hoon said, help me fix this place. New walls, new tables, new lights, the works. I like my bar the way it was. Small, simple, mine. Ryujin nodded once. Done. Second, Ji-hoon continued, send better whiskey. The good stuff. Regular shipments. Earth imports, if you can manage it. None of that synthetic garbage. And maybe some peanuts. The salted kind. I go through them fast. Min-seo snorted. You're bargaining with an emperor for whiskey and peanuts? Ji-hoon grinned. I know what I like. Ryujin looked at him for a long time. Then he made that low rumble in his chest. This time, it was clearly a laugh. You ask for so little, he said, when I could give you stars. Ji-hoon shook his head. Stars are cold. Whiskey is warm. And peanuts are crunchy. Ryujin bowed again, lower this time. It will be done, he said. The bar will be rebuilt stronger than before. Shipments will arrive weekly. The best whiskey from Earth's oldest distilleries, peanuts by the crate, and more. Whatever you need, whenever you need it. Min-seo stood up slowly. She winced at her bruised wrist, but smiled anyway. You're really going back to being emperor? She asked. Ryujin nodded. I must. My people need me. The ascendancy is vast. Without order, it falls apart. Ji-hoon walked over and picked up an unbroken bottle from behind the counter. It was half full. He poured 3 small glasses, one for each of them. Then drink with us one more time, he said, before you go. Ryujin took the glass carefully between his claws. Min-seo picked hers up. Ji-hoon raised his. To quiet bars, Ji-hoon said. To kind fools, Min-seo added. Ryujin looked at them both. His eyes shone brighter for a moment. To friends, he said softly. They drank together. The whiskey burned smooth down their throats. After the glasses were empty, Ryujin set his down. I must leave soon, he said, but I will return, often, in this form, to sit in the corner, to drink, to listen. Ji-hoon nodded. Doors always open. Ryujin looked around the ruined room one last time. By morning, he said, workers will arrive. From my personal guard. They will rebuild everything, better, stronger, and they will not speak of what happened here unless you allow it. Min-seo raised an eyebrow. Your personal guard does construction? Ryujin's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. They do whatever I command. Ji-hoon chuckled. Handy. Ryujin pulled his torn cloak around himself. He moved toward the door. At the threshold he stopped. Thank you, he said again, for seeing me. Not the crown, not the power, just me. Ji-hoon waved a hand. Get out of here before more hunters show up. We've had enough excitement for 1 week. Ryujin bowed once more. Then he stepped into the corridor. The door hissed shut behind him. Silence returned. Ji-hoon and Min-seo stood in the broken bar. Minso looked at Ji-hoon. You just turned down a galaxy's worth of riches for whiskey and peanuts. Some things are worth more than riches. She smiled. You're impossible. Ji-hoon picked up a broom from the corner. It was one of the few things still whole. Come on, he said. Let's clean what we can before his crew shows up. I don't want them thinking we live like pigs. Minso laughed. She grabbed another broom. Outside in the dark halls of Outpost 47, Ryujin walked away. His steps were lighter now. His heart, ancient and heavy, felt something new. Hope. Friendship. A small human bar had given him what empires never could. He would protect this place. He would protect these people. And he would come back. Again and again. Because sometimes the greatest power in the galaxy was not fire or fleets. It was a poured drink, a shared laugh, a simple kindness, and humanity had just taught the Dragon Emperor its true meaning. The next morning came with a surprise. Ji-hoon woke up on the small cot in the back room, still smelling smoke and spilled whiskey. He expected silence, maybe a few broken pieces left to clean. Instead he heard voices, low, organized, moving fast. He pulled on a shirt and stepped out. The bar looked different already. Workers in dark uniforms moved like a quiet army. They carried new metal panels, fresh wood, boxes of lights and wires. Some repaired the walls with tools that glowed blue and sealed cracks in seconds. Others swept glass and ash into neat piles that vanished into small machines. A tall figure in the same uniform directed them all. He saw Ji-hoon and bowed slightly. Sir, the man said, we are the Emperor's personal guard. He sent us. We will finish by evening. Ji-hoon rubbed his eyes. That was fast. The guard smiled a little. The Emperor does not wait. Minseo arrived soon after. She stopped in the doorway with her mouth open. The bar was half rebuilt already. New counter, stronger, polished dark wood. Fresh stools lined up straight. Walls smooth and clean. No more burn marks. Even the ceiling lights looked brighter. She walked over to Ji-hoon. Did we win the lottery or something? Ji-hoon shrugged. Emperor perk, I guess. By afternoon, the place looked better than before. Tables sturdy. Floor clean and shiny. A new sign above the door, simple metal with "Last Stop" carved deep. Someone had even added small shelves behind the counter, filled with bottles. Real earth whiskey, rows of them. Labels Ji-hoon had only seen in old pictures. And crates of peanuts, stacked neatly in the corner. The workers finished. They bowed once more and left without a word. The guards stayed last. The Emperor asks that you open tonight as usual, he said. He will come. Then he was gone too. Ji-hoon and Minso stood in the new bar. It felt strange. Too clean. Too perfect. Minseo ran her hand over the counter. This is real wood. Not synth. I can smell it. Ji-hoon opened one of the whiskey bottles. He poured 2 small glasses. To not dying yesterday, he said. Minseo clinked her glass against his. To crazy nights and crazier friends. They drank. The whiskey tasted smooth, warm, better than anything Ji-hoon had ever served. That night, the door opened at the usual time. Ryujin stepped in. He wore no cloak this time, no hood, just simple dark clothes that looked expensive but plain. His scales showed clearly under the new lights. Horns gleamed, eyes glowed soft. He looked around the bar slowly. Then he smiled. A real smile, small but real. It is beautiful, he said. Ji-hoon waved him over. Your usual stool is waiting. Ryujin sat. Ji-hoon poured the whiskey without asking. Ryujin took the glass and held it for a moment. Thank you, he said, for letting me come back. Ji-hoon leaned on the counter. Told you. Doors always open. Customers started coming. Word had spread somehow. Not the full story, No one spoke of dragons or emperors, but something. People came to see the new bar. They stayed because the place felt different, safer, warmer. Minseo worked the tables. She smiled more, laughed more. Even the miners talked louder, told better stories. Ryujin sat in his corner and watched. Sometimes he spoke to Jihoon. Sometimes he just listened. He drank slowly. He ate peanuts like they were treasure. Weeks passed, then months. The last stop became famous in quiet ways. Travelers told others. There's a bar at the edge of everything. Small place, good drinks. The owner pours for anyone, even strange ones, and no one causes trouble there. Ships started stopping more often, not just miners and smugglers. Traders, explorers, even a few officials from bigger systems. They came, drank, left happy. No fights, no trouble. The bar stayed peaceful. Ryujin came almost every night. Sometimes he stayed late. Sometimes he left early. But he always came. One night, after the bar emptied, Jihoon and Minseo sat with him. Jihoon poured the last drinks. So, he said, how's the umpire? Ryujin looked into his glass. Calm now. The traders are gone. The court listens again. Trade flows. Worlds are safe. Minseo smiled. Because you came here and got a free drink? Ryujin laughed softly. Because I remembered what matters. Jihoon raised an eyebrow. And what's that? Ryujin met his eyes. Kindness. Without price. Without fear. You gave it to me when no one else would. Now I give it back. He reached into his pocket. He pulled out a small metal disc. Thin, shiny, etched with strange symbols. This is for you, he said. My personal mark. Show it anywhere in the Ascendancy. Doors will open. Help will come. No questions. Jihoon took it. It felt warm in his hand. Don't need it, he said. But I'll keep it, for emergencies. Ryujin nodded. And there is more. He looked around the bar. I have made this place neutral ground. Official. No laws touch it except yours. No empire claims it. No hunter dares enter. It is yours, forever. Minseo whistled low. You just made us untouchable? Ryujin smiled. I made you safe. Jihoon looked at the disc, then at Ryujin. You didn't have to do all this. I wanted to, Ryujin said, because you wanted nothing. That is rare. That is powerful. They sat in quiet for a while. The station hummed around them, soft, steady. Ryujin finished his drink. He stood. I must return to the throne soon, he said. But I will visit, often, in this form, to sit, to drink, to listen, to remember. Jihoon stood too. He offered his hand. Ryujin looked at it. Then he took it. His large, scaled hand closed around Jihoon's. Firm, warm. Friends, Ryujin said. Friends, Jihoon answered. Minseo hugged Ryujin quickly. He froze for a second, surprised. Then he hugged her back. Careful. Gentle. Take care, big guy, she said. Ryujin bowed low. Thank you, he said one last time. For everything. He walked to the door. It opened. He stepped out. The door closed. Jihoon and Minseo stood alone in the quiet bar. Minseo looked at Jihoon. You know, she said, most people dream of meeting an emperor. We got one as a regular. Jihoon chuckled. Yeah, and all it cost was a burned bar and a few bottles. They cleaned up slowly, put away glasses, turned off lights. Outside, across the galaxy, word kept spreading, not of power, of a small bar at the edge of space, where a human bought a drink for a lonely dragon, where kindness won more than armies ever could, where an emperor found something greater than a throne, a friend. And because of that, humanity earned respect across stars. Not with weapons, not with fear, with a simple act. A poured drink, a shared story, a hand offered without asking for anything back. Ryujin sat on his throne again. Vast, cold, golden. But now in his pocket, He carried a small bag of salted peanuts, and in his heart, the memory of a quiet bar, a human smile, a woman's laugh. He would return soon, because some places are worth more than empires. Some people are worth more than crowns, and Last Stop was one of them. The lights dimmed, the station slept, but in the small bar, a single light stayed on, above the corner stool, waiting for the next night, for the next drink, for the next friend. And somewhere far away, a dragon emperor smiled, because humanity had shown him the greatest power of all, the power to be kind, and the galaxy would never forget it.